Hello everyone, my name is TaxOwlbear and welcome back to the Lovecraftian video game Retrospective, and welcome to Pray for Death. Pray for Death is a fighting game from 1996 and its plot is very basic. Death is bored and so he takes the souls or the afterlife characters of 8 other people and he makes a tournament, and whoever wins that tournament gets basically a wish fulfilled. So some people enter it for revenge, some people want to challenge death. You have a bunch of characters here, like Anubis, should be Anubis, it's a newbie here. You've got Jen Fan, an Asian American. You've got Cthulhu, Great Cthulhu. Pantera, you've got a killer robot from the US Army, not really sure why he's even in the afterlife, he's a machine. You've got this Red Orc dude, and you have got Maelstrom, and Maelstrom is a knight of the Necronomicon. That's how they describe him, and he kind of feels like a mix between Vlad Tepes / Dracula and Cthulhu cultist. So I choose Cthulhu because this is a Lovecraftian game retrospective. And the thing is, I'm not very good at fighting games at all. I basically never play them. I don't think they're bad kind of game, it's just not my kind of game. So I did terrible here. So the long range attack is the only one where I even scored a hit, but the computer was just destroying me, especially when it did combos, because some of the combos I didn't really find a way to break them. So occasionally the computer would just grab me and then just mash away 1/3 of my health. So this is actually one of my better fights and I'm still losing terribly. And Cthulhu here looks like a really oily mix between one of the Battletoads and Toadman from Mega Man. So yeah, but Cthulhu and Maelstrom are pretty much the only characters that are directly related to Lovecraft. The other ones are the guy I'm fighting right now, Wolfrich, I think that's his name, and he's got the follower of Odin, and he stole something from Odin, and he went into afterlife, and now we're fighting in his domain, which is like a cliche Scandinavian / Viking area. And there's also that US Army killer robot I mentioned, who tried to assemble an army of killer robots and kill everybody but failed. And a whole bunch of other characters like Anubis, another god of death, who basically wants to challenge death in this tournament because, hey, it's death, so he's a god of death, so he wants to do that and reassemble his cult or something like that. It's not really all that well described. You can get a basically 2-sentence description for all the characters, but it's very basic, so don't expect any great literature here. And from the style, this game reminds me of Mortal Kombat, probably because the characters are quite exotic. It's not even exactly the most realistic game, but it's a fighting game from the mid-90s, so what do I expect? Of course, here I lost because I'm terrible at fighting games. And the graphics looks actually quite decent from what I can tell, and the characters feel quite fluent. What I didn't like were the controls. I'm already bad at fighting games, but the controls really took the cake because the controls do use WHSD controls, like most modern shooters do, but they also use TFGH controls, so basically as a second D-pad, which I can kind of understand. And it also uses the arrow keys for menus, but only some menus. For example, this menu uses TFGH controls and not the arrow keys or the WASD controls. So it's terrible. I mean, I'm already bad at fighting games, but this one really, I could barely control my character. And now I choose this Asian guy who's totally not a Bruce Lee clone, except that he is. And I'm fighting, I think, Pantera. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't really put all that much effort into trying to complete this game. I played it for about maybe half an hour, 45 minutes. I failed over and over again. I didn't really get anywhere. Again, this is one of my better fights, because I actually managed to hit the opponent. Some of the characters I really had trouble fighting at all. Like when I fought Anubis once, I'm not really sure what went wrong, but I couldn't even hit him once. I'm not really sure. I mean, at least these characters I can hit them occasionally, more or less randomly, but yeah, then again, I'm terrible at fighting games, so this might just be me. Unfortunately, I'm not really able to judge how good of a fighting game this game is, because for me it's way too hard. But it didn't really do all that well, in the sense that it's not really all that well remembered. It's nothing compared to Street Fighter or Killer Instinct, even though it's quite similar to Killer Instinct. So yeah, but it seems alright for me. I've certainly seen worse, and I've certainly played games with worse controls. It's not all that Lovecraftian. It does have 2 Lovecraftian style characters. And yeah, this is almost everything I have to say about this game. In the tournament mode you have to beat all the other characters and also a bunch of bosses, including death. And then you get a 10-second clip, and that's pretty much it. And in the other modes you have a normal versus mode, you have a tournament mode for up to 8 players, so instead of fighting all CPUs you fight all the players, and it's pretty standard. I read the manual and it doesn't really expand on the story a whole lot. It makes an attempt at dark humor, but it just feels silly. So yeah, that's everything I have to say. Take care and goodbye.